Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're tackling a massive and often confusing topic, climate change. There's a lot of information out there, and frankly, a lot of misinformation. It's easy to get lost in the noise. So, we're going to cut through the confusion and bust 8 of the most common climate change myths. If you've ever heard something that made you scratch your head, stick around, because we're about to clear things up. Let's dive right into myth number 1. The climate has always changed. This is just a natural cycle. It's true that Earth's climate has changed throughout history. We've had ice ages and warm periods long before humans were driving cars. But here's the key difference. The speed. Past climate shifts happened over thousands, even millions of years. What we're seeing now is a rapid, unprecedented spike in global temperatures happening over just a couple of centuries. The data is clear. This isn't a slow, natural cycle. The pace of this change is what's so alarming, and it lines up perfectly with the start of the Industrial Revolution. It's like the difference between walking down a hill and falling off a cliff. Both involve going down, but one is a natural pace and the other is a dangerous, rapid descent. This leads us to myth number 2. It's the sun. A more active sun is causing the warming. The sun is the ultimate source of our planet's warmth, so this sounds plausible, right? Scientists have looked at this very closely. They've been measuring the sun's energy output for decades, and what they've found is that over the last 40 years, while global temperatures have been soaring, the sun's energy output has actually been slightly decreasing. If the sun were the main driver, we'd expect to see the upper atmosphere warming up just as much as the lower atmosphere, but that's not what's happening. The lower atmosphere is warming while the upper atmosphere is cooling. This is the telltale fingerprint of heat being trapped by greenhouse gases, not of an overactive sun. Okay, myth number 3. There's no consensus among scientists. You hear this one a lot, often suggesting there's a huge debate in the scientific community, but that's simply not the case. Multiple studies have shown that over 97% and, in some analyses, over 99% of publishing climate scientists agree that the climate is warming and that human activity is the primary cause. Think about that. 99%. That's an incredible level of agreement. It's the same level of certainty that smoking causes cancer. Of course, science encourages debate and skepticism. That's how it moves forward. But on the fundamental questions of whether the climate is changing and if we're the cause, the debate is over. The scientific community is speaking with a virtually unified voice. Now for a big one, myth number 4. Carbon dioxide is just plant food. More CO2 is a good thing. Yes, it's true that plants need CO2 for photosynthesis. That's a basic fact from biology class. And in some controlled environments, like a greenhouse, adding more CO2 can boost plant growth. But our planet is not a simple greenhouse. Firstly, while some plants might grow faster, this greening effect is limited. Plants also need water, nutrients, and the right temperature. Climate change is disrupting all of those things with more droughts, floods, and extreme heat waves. Secondly, not all plants react the same, and often, weeds and invasive species benefit more than the crops we rely on. Finally, and most importantly, the small benefit for some plants is massively outweighed by the negatives of a warming planet like rising sea levels, ocean acidification, and more extreme weather. It's like saying that since we need water to live, a flood must be a good thing. The dose makes the poison. Let's move on to myth number 5. The climate models are unreliable. You might hear people say that since we can't perfectly predict the weather next week, how can we trust models that predict the climate in 50 years? This confuses weather with climate. Weather is the chaotic, short-term condition of the atmosphere. Climate is the long-term average of weather over decades. Climate models aren't trying to predict the exact temperature in your city on June 15, 2075. Instead, they predict trends and averages. And actually, they've been remarkably successful. Models from the 1970s and 80s accurately predicted the amount of warming we'd see by now. Of course, they are constantly being refined as our understanding and computing power grow, but their fundamental projections have proven to be right on the mark. Alright, myth number 6. It's cold outside. So much for global warming. This one pops up every time there's a snowstorm or a cold snap. But again, this is confusing weather with climate. A single cold day, or even a cold winter in one part of the world, doesn't disprove a long-term global trend. Global warming refers to the rise in the planet's average temperature. It doesn't mean it will stop being cold everywhere, all the time. In fact, a warming planet can lead to more extreme and unpredictable weather, including intense winter storms. The jet stream, a river of air high in the atmosphere, can be destabilized by a warmer Arctic, pushing frigid polar air further south. So ironically, a particularly harsh winter in your area could be another symptom of the overall warming trend. Always look at the big picture, not just the weather outside your window. We're almost there. Here's myth number 7. Renewable energy is too expensive and unreliable. This might have been partially true a decade or two ago, but technology moves fast. The cost of solar and wind power has plummeted dramatically, making them competitive with, and often cheaper than, fossil fuels in many parts of the world. As for reliability, the argument is that the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. That's true, but the solution isn't to give up. It's to build a smarter, more diverse energy grid. This means combining different renewables, solar, wind, geothermal, hydro, and integrating them with advanced battery storage technology. The energy grid of the future won't rely on just one source. It'll be a resilient, interconnected system. The transition is not only possible, it's already happening and creating millions of jobs. And finally, our last one. Myth number 8. It's too late. There's nothing we can do. This is perhaps the most dangerous myth of all, because it leads to inaction and despair. Yes, the situation is serious. We've already locked in a certain amount of warming, but it is absolutely not too late to avoid the worst-case scenarios. Every fraction of a degree of warming we prevent matters. Every action we take, from individual choices to massive policy changes, makes a difference. The science is clear that we have the tools and technologies needed to transition to a clean energy economy. What we need now is the collective will to implement them. The future isn't written yet. Believing it's too late is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Hope isn't just a feeling, it's a call to action. We can still create a healthier, more sustainable future for ourselves and for generations to come. So, there you have it, 8 common climate myths busted. The evidence for human-caused climate change is overwhelming, and the solutions are within our reach. It's a complex issue, but understanding the facts is the first step toward making a real difference. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this cleared up some confusion and empowered you with knowledge. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content like this. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Let me know in the comments which myth you found most surprising, or if there are others you want me to cover. Stay curious, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.